45 kilometers long, between 6 and 12 kilometers wide, 1,200,000 people in a land covering 360 square kilometers. This is the Gaza Strip, one of the most densely populated places on Earth. Two-thirds of the population are refugees or descendants of refugees, Palestinians who were uprooted from their homes when the State of Israel was founded in 1948 and who fled to the West Bank, Gaza and neighboring Arab countries. The Arab-Israeli War of 1967 created a second wave of refugees. Today they live in towns, but they are still refugee camps. Rafah, on the 11-kilometer-long border with Egypt. Rafah is the most violent refugee camp in Gaza. In recent months, the only access has been a single road, controlled by the Israeli army. And the border with Egypt has been blocked by a 5-meter-deep steel wall, recently erected to stop people from digging tunnels. The wall has destroyed the sewage pipes, flooding neighborhoods near the border. Here the nights echo with shooting and the rumble of Israeli tanks coming to demolish houses. The town is a succession of bullet-ridden houses and devastated neighborhoods.
You know, the Palestinian inner layers of psychology go around one single issue: the 1948 uprooting and the destruction of their homes. And what the Israelis are doing by destroying all these homes every day, they are making the Palestinians reliving the trauma, which is very deeply buried into our conscious and unconscious. The home for anybody in the world is a very important base of security. And for the Palestinians who lost their homes once and sometimes even more than once, it is the most single important issue in the making up of the structure of their psychology.
It is not a normal life, no. I mean, if we were living in a good condition and a good life, where we can raise our children in a fine way and where we can give them what they want, but now we can't. Now, if a child makes a mistake, we cannot, we're tired. We cannot pamper and play with them and provide them with the life they deserve. There is no possibility, not psychologically nor financially. On both sides, we are tired.
Fatia Salah comes from a family of refugees. They've been in Rafah since 1948. She used to live with her husband and 2 children in Eyad El Sarraj, one of the more dangerous border areas. One day, 10 months ago, she was visiting a neighbor when they heard a commotion outside. As they opened the window to see what was happening, an Israeli bullet hit her friend in the chest and wounded Fatia in the shoulder. For her friend, it was fatal. Fatia survived but still bears the psychological scars. To make matters even worse, her family home was partly destroyed and they had to move into a small flat in another neighborhood.
I don't know how to tell you. When I hear the shooting, I'm still for more than half an hour and I can't stand up. Still now I can't stand up. I have to sit for more than half an hour. I have a nervous breakdown. I cannot do a thing at my home. My daughter, when she does the slightest move, I cannot bear it. I feel as if I'm suffocating since I was shot. My parents' house is close, but I can't visit them because they are close to the borders. After that, I started to be afraid of dying. I said if I stayed at home, I would die. And I have a sister-in-law who went to the market to buy food for her children and got shot while walking, and she was paralyzed. So I started to be afraid of being paralyzed and things like that.
Recently, Fatia lost another sister-in-law, fatally injured while her house was being demolished. Such stories are common here. Out of 655 houses demolished since the beginning of the Second Intifada in September 2000, 250 are in Rafah. The Gaza Community Mental Health Program has seen a dramatic increase in cases of depression, especially among women and children. At first, people were reluctant to follow psychotherapy for fear of being stigmatized, but now they are turning to it more and more. Fatia came to the program for counseling several months ago. She was desperate. It was her last chance of hope.
After she started to get her medication regularly, of course we had to give her medication in addition to psychotherapy sessions, after 3 months we started to notice some improvement. Some of her symptoms started to disappear. She was able to work again, and we feel she's better. But many times she prefers to go to work in order to feed her children, rather than coming to us for treatment. In a way, she sacrifices herself for them.
Fatia has no choice. Her husband is unemployed. His Israeli work permit has been withdrawn because of a nephew who recently became what Palestinians call a martyr, and he has no future prospects. They have a small stall in a bazaar where they sell clothes. They barely make 500 shekels a month, around $100 US. More than half of that goes on rent for the flat and the market stall, and they're still trying to pay the mortgage on their destroyed house. No wonder then that the future looks bleak. They can't see a way out. They're swamped by the gloom of Rafah.
There is no future. No, I mean it, there is not. There is no hope in life. I mean, we wish to die in every minute. We are just staying here, gathering sins, but death is known. You know the stakes when you die. I mean, whoever gets martyred is far better off than those who are still alive. Perhaps he or she becomes a martyr in the eyes of God, but we are neither martyrs nor are we living like humans. Nothing. Our life is very difficult, a tragedy. We are living a tragedy, really.
Maghazi, a small refugee camp of 23,000 inhabitants in the center of the Gaza Strip. This is Wafi Disugi's town, Maghazi's own martyr. In August 2002, Wafi died in a suicide attack on a Jewish settlement. He had a Kalashnikov, 4 hand grenades, and was accompanied by a friend. He was barely 22.
He had lunch that day at his uncle's house with his relative. He washed and took the bottle of cologne and sprayed it on him. I didn't see him doing that. He practically used up the whole bottle. Have you seen the groom and the bride on the night of the wedding? He looked like that. Beautiful, like the dawn. He combed his hair and parted it from his forehead. And I told him, aren't you ashamed to do that with your hair, as if you were a girl? He said, are you jealous, mother? So I said, no, God bless you. But it was strange. I thought, he's pulling my leg, he's talking about a fiancé. I brought him from my uncle's to our house, and he was avoiding me. But my heart was telling me that something was happening with Wafi.
He didn't want to worry his mother or me, for fear that we would stop him. And he put his faith in God and went. He only came back the second day, at 4 p.m. He came in a box. A body that had been deformed. Only half of his face was visible from the box. And when I started to kiss him, I mean, he was a body in a box, a piece of meat. God bless him.
Nothing is clear about that day. The papers reported no Jewish victims, but they showed pictures of the dead suicide attackers. Wafi's parents, as if justifying the loss of their son, claimed that 2 settlers were injured and 1 killed. One thing is clear though, Wafi had always wanted to be a martyr.
In the first Intifada, we were allowing children to play the famous game Arabs and Jews. Many Palestinian children at that time preferred to play the role of the Jew. Because for the Palestinian child, it was the Israeli soldier who represented power. But that was so traumatic for them because how could they identify with the enemy? So they became more violent. Today, The only symbol of power for the Palestinian child is the martyr. And that by itself is dangerous, because we are creating unconsciously a new generation who believe that the best thing in life is to die.